محمد الثاني على حب الزهراء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى حب الحسن والحسين الثالثة بأعلى أصواتكم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The past few weeks we dealt with many topics, starting with the storyline. Today's topic is going to be order and harmony. The Arabic word for order is nizam. The Arabic word for harmony is maybe close to insijam. When there's insijam between two issues, or when there's harmony between two laws. That's what I mean here today. So if we just take a recap, if we just go for the past weeks to see what has been discussed, so we can understand the topic of today. In the past weeks we spoke about, for example, the story of Khadija salamullah alayha, the spaces that Fatima, about Fadak necessarily, the signs of Fatima, as Fatima being a sign herself, the tests and trials of Fatima, and now we talk about order and harmony. And order and harmony, it's a topic that I brought it from the speech of Fatima, speech of Fadak that she delivered in the masjid in front of the whole crowd of the Ansar and Muhajirin. As we had said before that we haven't changed the ayah again. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. And in the first instances we explained what Kawthar means for the story, for spaces, for signs, for tests. And today Kawthar means not just I've given you abundance, but I've given you order. I've given you harmony. I've given you the Kawthar. So the Kawthar is now being changed again. The meaning of Kawthar is being expanded, not changed, being expanded to englobe and to encompass more than one of these meanings. The story of Kawthar starts with Khadija, then the tests and trials, then the sign, then Fadak. Kawthar is Fadak. Then today Kawthar is order and harmony. We have given you law, order and harmony. Nurun ala nur. So Fadak is like, Kawthar is like nur. So it keeps, the more you dig into the meaning, the more you find hidden meanings. And we are today looking at the speech of Fatima, only one line. It may be actually half a line, right? Ta'atuna wa ta'atuna aw ita'atuna nidaman lil millah. On one line. So order and harmony just from that line. That line in English is translated as our obedience, or obedience to Ahlul Bayt, is order, harmony for humanity, harmony for the cosmos. So just that line we're going to discuss today, and seeing how Kawthar again, that order, that harmony, that Fatima is the Kawthar, that Fatima is that order, that Fatima is that harmony, salamullah alayha. So if we just ask the question, we say, well, what's law? Because order and harmony has to have laws, has to have something behind it. So the simplest thing is do's and don'ts, right? Amr wa nahi, do this, don't do this. This is usually what law is. There are some of them are enforced naturally, so you see in the tabi'ah, qawanin al-tabi'ah, and then there's laws that we create within institutions like parliament, politics, departments, ministries. This is what created between us. We are surrounded by law. Everything you do is by law. You move yourself, there's law for that, for movement. You move, you go somewhere, you want to do something, you want to get paper, there's sort of laws that govern these issues. So they could be either mechanical, physical, chemical, biological, or social, because there's a lot of social laws. Some of them are written and some of them are not written. For example, I'll just give you an example. When I walk in here today, when we walked in and we sat down, there's the Iraqi or Muslim tradition that we say Masakum Allah bil khair, for example. So this is a law that's not written down, but we interact with it and we understand it. So depending where you go, depending where you sit, depending which community, there's different laws that are spoken or not spoken. We only as humans act within these laws. So if you look at anywhere, whether you look at the cosmos, the kawn, or you look at what's happening in the world, or you look deep down, inside, at the smallest detail, there's always laws. There's no place on this earth, in the world, in the cosmos, wherever you travel, wherever you go, whoever you interact with, there's a law. Now, we're not saying that law is harmonious when you interact. We're saying there's law right now. In nature there's harmony. Between us doesn't mean there is harmony. But we're talking just in nature right now, we're saying, yeah, it's harmonious. So look at this, laws and harmony. Having law is one thing, so if you have laws is one thing. Having harmony, insijam, between these laws is a totally different topic. This is actually where you can see God. So for those who say, I want to see God, you can't see God physically. But when I explain these next few lines, you'll be able to see God from a different way. Not seeing Him physically, but seeing Him through the heart. Look here. As we said, different laws as one thing. Having harmony between the laws requires somebody who's there. Requires an intelligent being. Requires a God. Requires somebody that knows all the laws. Requires one creator. Requires somebody that puts all these laws together. That come from one source, from one person. So you could have different laws. Once they're in harmony, then you get somebody over them. So if you have somebody over them, he has to be more powerful. I mean, he has to be something like a God, right? And who is on top of this? The angels, in the Quran it says that the angels, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرِ. Yani all the laws that God has created, each law has an angel. Even on your shoulders. There's two, one of them sitting on your right, one of them sitting on your left. The one at the right writes your good deeds. He's by law, he's ordained, he has to keep writing. The one on the left, as you see in the cartoons, is always writing your bad deeds. And this is actually true, so this is a hadith for that. So these angels, they do everything that God has told them. But somebody has to be on top of the angels. Remember that in our previous lectures we said that the angels bowed down to Adam. Sajadu li Adam. That means Adam is on top of the angels. That means they take orders from Adam. They take orders from Adam, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That means they take orders from the household of the Prophet, from the progeny of the Prophet, from Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayhim. That means Ahlul Bayt are on top of these laws. Everything runs according, and that's why Fatima says, Ta'atuna nidaman al-millah. You think you can maybe escape, you think you can take my right, you can take fadak, do this, do that, but the whole cosmos runs on Ta'at Ahlul Bayt. Whether they believe it or they don't at that time, or even today. So perfection, the perfection that God talks about in the Quran is actually the harmony between these laws. There's harmony. And that harmony cannot just exist like that. It has to have something. If there's disharmony, and God says in the Quran, if there's disharmony, if you see that one law in nature is against another law in nature, the world will cease to exist. It will never exist anymore. So if you got gravity, and then you have another law that says no gravity, well, it doesn't work. Either gravity or no gravity. If you got one that says pressure, dotted, for example, there's atmospheric pressure, well, you can't have another law that nullifies or else will destroy the world. But all the other laws, so gravity, pressure, all this, jadbiyya, from all the laws that you can think of, they all work together perfectly. Look here, I wanted to give you an example so I make it even more clear. And I wanted to show you the complexity of what I mean by harmony. Because once you understand the idea of harmony, you'll understand the lecture and you'll understand what Fatima salamullah alayha was talking about. I took an example, like a clock wheel. You know, if you open a clock, the old clocks at least, you would see those wheels that clocks run on. If you just look at the wheel, the clock, don't look inside, just look at it as it is. You say, there's metal, it's made of oxygen, H2O, fire, metals, temperature, gravity, texture, so this is just looking at it. Now if you look at the design of the wheel, somebody had to design that, so humans had to design that. Need knowledge, you need mathematics, physics, chemistry, metallurgy, manufacturing concepts, and all of these different knowledges, different laws to create one thing. If these laws did not have any harmony, you cannot create it. You cannot create this simple piece of wood, make a little disc, or make a clock wheel in this instance. So all these, and this we're not even talking about the atomic level, we're just talking about the visible. This is what we can see very quickly. We're not talking about what's inside, what's deep, who, what, nanoatoms and atoms. We're just talking very, very superficial. Link this to the concept that I told you before. I remember what I told you, Sayyid Tabatabai, rahmatullah alayhi, used to look at a flower and used to cry. Now you understand why. Because we look at a flower, when he looks up at a flower, he sees the harmony, the laws, all these instances of the power of God, of the power of Ahlul Bayt, of the majesty of God. Subhanaka, Ya Allah. Right? This is the majesty of Allah. All within one simple thing. And that's why Amir al-Mu'mineen from the other lectures used to say, I did not look at one thing except I saw God in it, before it and after it. So anything they look at, they used to see the majesty of God, salamullah. And I wanted to show you even more complexity. The microchip. The microchip is like one brain. One cell in a brain. Imagine how many cells you have in your brain, and they all work together. And the microchip has in your computer, right now we talk about what's the most microchips? i7, iCore 7, maybe iCore 8, maybe let's say iCore 10. You know how much your brain has? This is the fastest computer today that we use, not the supercomputers. The fastest computer today is an iCore 8. Let's say iCore 10. Let's say iCore 20. You know what? Say iCore 100. Let's talk about 50 years, 100 years from now. iCore 1 million. You know how much your brain has? How many iCores? Billions. Nobody, no technology in the world can manufacture what God has manufactured. No technology. To understand how the atmosphere, how the climate works, they need super computers. Because there's so many variables. iCore 7 means, all it means when you have a simple computer that has 2 cores, or 3 cores, or 4 cores, is that the computer can compute 1 thing, or 2 things, or 3 things, or 4 things at a time, at a single time. When you're looking at the atmosphere, when it rains or wants to snow, you're looking at billions of variables. So no computer can compute billions of variables at the same time. So that's why they can only predict. They say it might rain, might do this, might not be right, might be sunny. Nobody can do these. So imagine the complexity of all these things happening in an instance. That means the laws behind it are super. The harmony between these laws is even greater. To make it work, to make the world run, billions and billions of stuff, billions, even I think trillions, even more, are happening in the instant of a second. And the harmony between them exists. And God makes sure of that. God talks about harmony. And the Quran is a book about laws that are harmonious with human nature. God says in the Holy Quran that Fitrat al-Insan, the Quran and the Fitra are one and the same thing. So I did not create laws that are disharmonious with the human nature. God talks also about the harmony of nature, of seasons. God says that the harmony that exists points to me, points to Allah, points to a creator, points to Ahlul Bayt, points to somebody that has to give that relationship a lot of harmony. God says that the complete, not religion, the complete religion is the only peace and the only path to that harmony. Another path creates disharmony. In the Quran, there's a verse in the ayah, there's a verse in the Quran that says that if a mu'min or a abid, in his heart there cannot be 2 gods. It's either one or the other. It's either I have a God. There cannot be 2 creators. It won't work. One creator has to be in the heart. Or else if you have 2, disharmony. Doesn't work. They will annihilate each other. Fatima says that harmony is Ahlul Bayt, salamullah alayhim. وَطَاعَتُنَا نِظَامًا لِلْمِلَّةِ. Our obedience is an order. Let's see what this means. Look at here. I wanted to bring the hadith that we all know, but always bring it from a different angle, from a different way to see, now what does it mean when we talk about Allah? I mean, what does the hadith Thaqalain mean right now? So if you imagine this is the Quran, the picture, and imagine Ahlul Bayt as the scale, Mizan. Quran is the law, the book of laws, and Ahlul Bayt are that harmony. They bring order to the Quran. Ayat al-Mutashabihat, right? So how do you bring all these ayat mutashabihat together to form harmony? Impossible. Many mufassir Quran. Even mufassirin al-Quran require that the Quran is a complex code. Very, very complex code. So like for example, if I bring you a computer code, you tell me, well, I don't read computer code. You need a programmer. So you bring a programmer and he comes and interprets your code. The Quran is a code written in Arabic, as I told you from before, written in Arabic, but we don't understand it. I can read the computer code, read it, but I don't understand. I can read this, .net, .hptp, whatever. I can read it, but I won't understand a single thing. It needs a programmer to understand what it's talking about. The same thing with the Quran. It needs its own special programmers, code breakers. Ahlul Bayt were the only code breakers of the Quran. And you see that without Ahlul Bayt, disharmony. Only Ahlul Bayt were able to interpret the Quran correctly. Look at today. Many schools of thought all interpret the Quran in different ways, contradictory ways, disharmonious ways. Very disharmonious ways. So if we read the famous hadith right now from the angle of harmony, look what it says. I leave you, إِنِّي تَارِكُمْ فِيكُمْ الثَّقَلَيْنِ, I leave you with two weighty things. If you follow them, you won't go astray. You won't be in disharmony. You'll be in harmony. The Quran, the law, which means the law, the order, and Ahlul Bayt that provide harmony to those laws. That's why they're inseparable. Because once you separate them, it won't work. You've got a bunch of code that doesn't make sense. You got a bunch of code that looks contradictory. You got a bunch of code with no programs. With nobody to bring it any harmony. They provide harmony to those laws and they are inseparable. And now you understand, okay, that's why they're inseparable. Because they cannot, nobody can read it except them, nobody can decipher it, nobody can bring order to these verses, to these ayats, except Ahlul Bayt Salamullah alayhim. And I wanted to show you, one time there's a alim Irani, maybe this happened a year ago, and in one of his speeches, poor guy, in one of his speeches, the Sheikh said that if you do any sort of bad deeds, it affects the cosmos, it affects the world. So earthquakes, we have a hadith that earthquakes are caused by certain bad deeds. Now it's funny because he is right, and they laughed at him in the US. And so he said that if you do, for example, he used zina. He said zina causes earthquakes. So they laughed at him in the US, and they did intentionally. A woman made a march with revealing clothes, so they can point to the Iranian alim and say nothing happened in the world. So you see, you're wrong. The funny thing is that another news agency the same day noted that yes, there was an earthquake that happened in the world at this point, at this time. Subhanallah, of course it didn't happen in all the world, but it happened. An earthquake did happen. So, but here the issue that I want to point to you is that the world, the way it's made, the way God made it with its laws, is that you are in control. The earthquake doesn't happen by itself. The volcano doesn't erupt by itself. The tsunami does not come and ravage villages by itself. Nothing actually that happens in the world happens by itself. You tell me, what? So when it snows, because I say it snows? Yeah, because you say it snows. Or because you don't know and it does do it. Because there's social laws. And God has said, whatever action you do, collectively, socially, can cause a certain reaction, can cause an earthquake, or can cause the other way. I mean, it can cause also good stuff. So whatever you do, either does this or does that. I know this is either new or not new, but you have to understand that your actions can cause harmony, order, or disharmony in the world. Look here. Very, very simple ayah. وَلَوْ أَنْ أَهْلِ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقُوا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. If they just believe, so God's telling that whatever people of good they get, if you want to give them something, all they have to do is have iman. He didn't say go work hard. Yeah, go have, because work is a part of iman. But he says that the major one is iman. Iman in what? You tell me, kafana kitabullah? No, because we said that kitabullah doesn't work. It's disharmony by itself. Has to have Ahlul Bayt, salamullah alayhim. Has to have iman bil Quran, bil Islam, bi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Also be Ahlul Bayt and his holy progeny to interpret properly, so you get the whole full picture, the complete religion, not just the religion, the complete religion. So as we use the example, we said sin or zina causes earthquakes, sins cause also natural disasters. For example, it ceases to rain, and many times the Imam al-Rida used to come out and prayed for rain. So they told the Imam, it's not raining, please come out. So Imam won, prayed to God, and it rained. Unbelievable. Dua, yeah, dua. Of course, here God wants to show what the Imam is, who, what. There's other issues from the point of view of Allah Azza wa Jal. Other issues where they used the bones of prophets at the time of Imam al-Qadim salamullah alayhi. They used the bones of prophets. A Christian man used the bone of the prophet, dug up a grave, used the bone, and used to lift his hand toward the sky and make it rain. So they came to Imam al-Qadim and they told him, Ummat Jaddik is going to go become Christian. So either you come save them and tell us what this is, or they will become Christian. As I told you, everything you do, everything in the cosmos has laws. God has made it so. So at the end, the Imam came, They told him, when he lifts his hand to pray, please bring me what's in his hand. And they found a bone between his fingers. The Christian man was lifting his hands in prayers that has a bone. And from the laws of Allah is that if anything from a Nabi, anything from a Prophet is shown to the sky, it rains. So this has nothing to do with the Christian man lifting his hands. It's anything that appears to the sky, it rains. So there's laws that God has put on this earth. Another ayah who says, whoever eats money of orphans, whoever يبتلع الأموال اليتامى, is like eating fire, saying he's eating fire in his belly. It's not he will eat in the hell. He says right now, if you're eating money that's dhulam of the yatama, of the yatim, you're eating fire, you just don't see it. So there's laws that's happening that you do not necessarily aware of, and your actions are causing it. Prophet Yunus' story, very long story, but I'll put it in one line, is that if the dhunub, the sins of his qawm, brought on a cloud of disaster. A cloud came, was about to destroy them. So they told, when Yunus left, they told one of his companions, they told him, how do we alleviate? How do we get out from this misery? How do we get the adab away from us? So he told them what to do. Separate yourselves, cry, cry, cry. Story short, and at the end the adab came down, but then left away. So even you yourself can change your outcome, can change your future. Whatever you do brings either order, harmony, or chaos. One of them. There's no way about it. Especially the social. Individual, maybe nobody sees you. Especially when you're in social communities. Speech of Fatima Salamullah alayha. As I told you, وَإِطَاعَتَنَا أَوْ طَاعَتَنَا نِظَامًا لِلْمِلَّةِ. That means it's obedience, the choice here, because there has to be a choice. So you choose the obedience of Ahlul Bayt, and then this creates that sort of harmony, or you get that sort of harmony or law and order in your life, in your community, and in the world at large. And you'll see what I mean when I say in the world. There's social laws. Social contract are God's laws. So there's social laws that maybe are not visible, they're not written, but they exist. They are the representative of Allah in the universe and beyond. And disobedience of Ahlul Bayt, you disobey Ahlul Bayt, you get disorder. And this is what happened right after, this is what happened at Fadak. They disobeyed Ahlul Bayt. You know what Amir al-Mu'mineen told them, Salamullah alayhi? This comes to my mind. He told them, I swear to you, or I swear by Allah, if you had obeyed me, I would have made you Arabs kings of the world. Kings. He said, only if you had obeyed me, I would have made you, all of you kings. That nobody would have looked at what the other person has. Allah, shu king, yani shu. Imagine Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I'll make you a king. Ba'ad Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullah alayhi. So imagine how much today we're in such misery because of that day. And Fatima comes here to tell us, this is what we mean by order. This is what we mean by harmony. This is what Fadak is. This is why I'm the sign. This is the story. This is the test and trials. Look here. And the obedience, now you tell me, well brother, what does obedience mean? I understand right now the harmony, the law, the issue. But what does when Fatima say ta'atuna? Ta'atuna very generally means what you do's and don'ts. Do this, don't do that. Mustahab this, makruh this. It's your sharia. It's your iman. And I'm not here to tell you what it is. You have to either ask your parents or go to your community or go on the internet. Or if you have any questions, you go back to your marja. You keep asking as long as you get your answers. Or you read your own books or so on. There's so many ways of getting the do's and don'ts. Look here. What Amir al-Mu'mineen says. He says that I command you with the fear of God. أوصيكم بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم. Taqwa Allah, we say fine. Let's say we understand what taqwa means. We say we understand. نظم أمركم. What does نظم أمركم mean? It says, well, regulate your affairs. Amir al-Mu'mineen means regulate your affairs, but how, Amir al-Mu'mineen? Ta'atuna. See, regulate, put your community in a way that it regulates the affairs. As I told you before, salah is different from iqamat as-salah. Anybody can pray. Not anybody can yuqim as-salah. Big difference. Now, how to build obedience? This is the big question. Well, how do I build that obedience? The main question, as I used to get from before in lectures, they tell me, Hussayn, my sons, my kids, my daughter, my this, my that. I tell you the first issue is that to build obedience in your household and families is first of all yourself. First of all, that's number one, is yourself. You work on yourself. Of course, you can work on other things at the same time, but you work on yourself first. You cannot build obedience in somebody else when you don't have it. It will never work, because one day you'll get caught. One day you'll get caught, as we say in English, red-handed, and your son will tell you, well, Dad, why did you do this? And you tell me to do that. And you will be like, hold on. Well, no, work on yourself first, but also work with your family. Second is building relationships. You tell me, what does that mean? You tell me, why do you tell me, oh, give him a book to read for my son. Give my son another book to read. Give him 20 million books. Give him videos. Give him this. Give him that. Take him to school. No, I'm telling you, building relationships is more important. Because if you don't have a relationship with your son or your daughter, they'll never listen to you. They'll never go to where you want them to go. They'll never come with you. And then when they turn 15, 16, 18, they'll tell you they probably don't even speak Arabic, or don't speak your language at least. Right? So building relationships is important. How do you build relationships? Spend time with them. There's teachable moments, there's mentoring, coaching, befriending, and I wrote in one big letter, fun. Yeah, fun. There's a lot of issues. I mean, I remember when I was young, my dad used to go to the Hussayniyah. This was in Toronto. I used to like to come to the Hussayniyah just for one thing. No, not the food. There used to be a sort of kashaf. They used to hold this Lebanese Hussayn, I think Al-Zehra was called. It was a while back, maybe over maybe 15, 20 years ago. They used to have a kashaf. Kashaf is a scout. And in the scout, they used to make them dress. I wanted to dress like them. And they used to ask them questions. They used to have fun. They used to take them out. So I just wanted to go just because of that. I didn't care about anything else. I used to ask my mom, why do you cry? I used to ask her. I remember this when I was young. I would ask my mom, why do you cry? I used to ask my dad the same question, why do you cry? But now all we wanted to do was play, but that's fun, that's good. Bring them to Hussayn, let them play. We used to have fun in Hussayn. But then when you grow up, you remember this, and you're like, oh, I used to go because of that, and I used to do this, and why that, and I used to see that. But they need that fun element. If they don't have fun, we're kids. We all used to be kids, right? And the examples of Fatima, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussayn, the relationship between them is plenty. Imam Amir Mu'min Salamullah alayhi says this. He says, if you give a kiss to one of your child, give the same kiss to the other one. Even Qibla. Imagine how much Amir Mu'min is just even with that. Sayyidah Fatima, Hadith al-Kisa, you know what she says? When Imam Hassan walks in, she says, Ya Nur Aini, Ya Qurrata Aini. She has two characteristics for Imam Hassan. When Imam Hussayn walks in, she says three. She says Nur Qalbi, Ya Qurrata Aini, and then she adds Waladi. She adds three. Why? You say it's unjust. No, it is just because Hassan is older. Hussayn needs more love, he's still young. So even with that, you look at the number and you say, well, why did she use 3 and 2 here? Because of that. Building that strong relationship. Marriage is order. Remember, now we're talking community, we're talking harmony, and a part of that harmony is that what God has given as laws. It's not wajib to get married. Sure, you can tell me that all day long and I say fine. But you want harmony, you want order? Sunnat Rasulullah is that order. Let me tell you what's wrong with marriage today. Well, what's good and wrong. Believe it or not, marriage is a contract. It's a contract you sign willingly, consciously, between you, your family, and his family or her family. You sign. You said, I want to abide by the laws of the Prophet Muhammad and his holy progeny. How do you sign something when you don't know what it means? I'll give you a simple example. Today when you want to buy an iPhone, as simple as that. iPad, whatever you name it. iPhone, iPad, this, that. You will go and you will read every line so you get the best deal, right? He's going to charge you $60 a month. You want to know what you're getting. I'm getting this, I'm getting that, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And then you're happy, then you sign. If after you sign, they tell you, you tell them, hey, I didn't know about this. They tell you, too bad, you signed. You didn't have eyes, you didn't read. Did anybody force you to sign the contract with Fido or with Rogers or whoever for that phone? You tell them no, they tell you too bad. You want to break the contract? You got to pay a penalty. Same thing. Same thing with marriage. There's no difference. You're a mu'min. How do you get married without knowing what the laws are? You're a mu'minah. How do you get married without knowing what the laws are? How do you get married? I swear to you, without a joke, I've heard it with my own ear. People who are mu'mineen, min shi'at Ahl al-Bayt, they say, my mom told me just get married, yallah, be good to your husband, she doesn't know anything. This doesn't work. And then you realize they come, they live here, then they divorce after what? 5 years, that is the average? 5 years. That's the statistics in Canada. 5 years. It's a contract. You have to know. Parents, you have to teach your children what it means. You yourself also have to read books. Understand, ask questions. Don't be shy about marriage because it's a long life investment. Not just 2-year investment, Fido with Rogers. It's a long life investment. You have to understand what you're signing. One time a woman came to the Prophet and she told him, Prophet, what are the rules of marriage? Just like that, that's fine. She asked, what are the rules? She told her the husband on the woman has this, she has to do this. Says, well, what about the woman for the man? He says, for every 100 you get 1. She says, well, I don't want to get married. He says, fine. That's up to you. But as long as she made a conscious decision. There's rules. You sign a contract, you will be one of those. If you sign and break it illegally, you have not only destroyed yourself, your family, your kids, your this and that, you've destroyed a community. Because today, when we get married, we're not just by ourselves. Muslims, especially Arabs, especially those who have community centers, don't just live isolated. We live together. Whatever happens to X, Y will know, Z will know, A will know, right? It's a big problem today. And your religion at the same time is a contract. It's a contract with God. أنت موالي, أنت مؤمن, أنت مطيع. It's a contract. Believe it or not, it's a contract. لما تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. You've signed with God, you told him, God, every day I pray, you did ziyarah, you just did ziyarah right now, just before my lecture. Ziyarat Fatima says, I will do this for you, I will do that for you, I will do this. You gave a verbal contract. And God has witnessed, Fatima has witnessed, you have witnessed, the world has witnessed, your friend, your brother, your mother, your father, the earth, the sky, the air you breathe, your skin, your hands, your feet, your eyes, your mouth, your teeth, everything has witnessed on the day of judgment. They'll say, yes, brother, yes, God, this brother has witnessed, this brother has signed, has agreed, has did a ziyarah of Imam Hassan, Hussayn, Fatima, Imam Nabi Muhammad, has contracted with us. And you will be asked on that contract what you did with it. You say, I love Ahlul Bayt, ani muti' li Ahlul Bayt, I obey Ahlul Bayt, you'll be asked. Because that's a contract. You don't have to, but then you'll be going towards chaos, disorder, disharmony. And the rules of Ahlul Bayt, as we said, are in line with your fitrah. So there's nothing different. It's what humans from their fitrah acquire. You have contracted also with Imam Hussayn when you Bayat Al-Zehra, when you've contracted a verbal contract, a heart contract, whichever you name it, whichever way you said it, that means you've done it through Imam Hussayn as well. Ziyarat Ashura, Ziyarat Al-Arba'een, especially Ziyarat Al-Arba'een, Ziyarat Ashura are a contract, attestation from Imam Hussayn. You'll say Imam Hussayn every day. You read dua to say Imam Hussayn, even if I'm dead, bring me out with you. Mujaridan Saifi. It's a contract. If you break it, you'll be asked. And Imam Sadiq gives an example of that. He says, imagine you live, 4 people are on a boat. Gives the social example of that contract. And one person decides to make a hole in the boat. You say, well, that's his part, my part, so too bad. No, you say, well, if he's going to make a hole in the boat, we're all going to sink and die. So then you get these laws, you get these contracts between you and the boat is like Imam Hussayn. Safinatul Najat. So if you see your brother, you see your sister, your daughter, It's your duty not to make them make holes. It's your duty, but you come with good words. Of course, is another story. You come with good manners, good akhlaq. You make it fun, teachable moments. You bring them a scout, kashef. You bring them activities that they like, and you also send them the message at the same time, because that's the easiest way kids learn. Or else, in the earth, if Imam Hussayn doesn't, if you don't bring Imam Hussayn, if you don't bring the harmony to the world, I'll show you what the opposite looks like. You want to see? Let's see. This is what the opposite looks like. 750 million people in the world today, no water. Have no access or limited access. Forget clean water. Water itself. It could be dirty water. Right? But this is disharmony. This reminds me of Hadith Amir al-Mu'mineen, what he says 1,400 years ago. He says, I provided for the people 3 things when he was Amir al-Mu'mineen during those 5 years or 4 years. He says, I gave people houses, jobs, and water. Water. Amir al-Mu'mineen 1,400 years says, I've given people jobs, houses, nobody lives on the streets, and water. 1,400 years ago, where's Amir al-Mu'mineen today? Look, this is the absence of harmony. There's no harmony in the world. There's no Ahlul Bayt. Mass graves. This is a picture, I think, from Iraq. Mass graves are everywhere, not just Iraq. Everywhere you go. Muslim countries all have it. Disharmony. Right? More. Disharmonies, and subhanAllah, Fatima salamullah was saying this. She told them, if you don't follow us, you will live in disharmony. You will live in chaos. And her words still ring truth. Right? So inshallah, from every speech when I give you, or from every lecture, I want always to send a message home, whether to the children, to the adults, to the youth, is that whenever you ponder on something, whenever an idea comes to you, whenever you bring it home, take it, save it first, like you're saving a document, and then slowly decipher it and digest it and flip it and bring it and let it affect you. I come only here maybe once a week, but you live with your God every day, 24/7. You live with your conscience every day, 24/7. You live with your families every day, 24/7. So you have to be careful, and you have to make the word of Fatima, Salamullah alayha, Rahmallah man ahya amrana, uqimu salat, is not just prayer. Uqim, in your house, in your community. إطاعتنا نظاما للملة. So inshallah, اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك بحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها وأن تفعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله. إن شاء الله. وبهذا نختم بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.